morning, everybody. Looks like we are filming episode 2 today of Enduro Radio. Thanks for watching. We kind of have a bit of a special treat today in the form of this young man in front of me named John Gessner. So for those of you who do not know who John Gessner is, and if that's the case, you probably don't talk to me a whole lot because I tend to talk this kid up quite a bit, but there's a reason for that. He is one of the most impressive human beings I think you will ever encounter in a lot more ways than one. And we're gonna spend today basically telling you all about it, instead of this being a video podcast where I endlessly talk about myself, which is not normally, something I want to do a whole lot of. But if there is one human being we're spending an entire episode on, it's this guy, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, he started riding, and I mean motorcycles, at the age of 3. Secondly, he was racing on asphalt, full leathers, full GP course, at the age of 5. From then on, he took championship class after championship class, all the way up through the ranks. And by the time I met him, he was racing on full GP courses with us. He ended up becoming my teammate when he was 12, if you can believe that. And I met this kid, well, I noticed him around the pits before I ever actually met him. He was already racing in the WMRRA circuit in the 125 GP class on a Honda 125 GP race bike. Kid couldn't have been more than, 4'11", 5 foot at the time. And you stare at him thinking, well, are they just going to put him in the back of the pack? And he's just going to kind of finish his laps? I mean, does he have a novice license? Does he have a pro license? I don't know how this works. I was very confused in the beginning. And then I saw him go. I assure you they were not putting him on the back of the grid. He was first or second row. And by the time he came around for the first lap, well, he was basically getting the charge every time, which was really, really amazing to see somebody at that age and that stature. I mean, we're talking about a kid that was in the 6th grade. The day before, he was in English class or math class or running around the playground with his buddies. The next day, he's racing around a full superbike track with grown-ass men, and he's showing them what to do. And that is something that does not come along more than once or twice in a lifetime, and to be able to witness it was really, really cool. But now, he's obviously grown up quite a bit. I just want you to watch this kid go as he's riding this. Today is the first day. I'm going to have trouble keeping up with him, I can already tell you that. Today is day 1 for him on this bike, which we built for him, and I will tell you why later on, which is a Husqvarna 450, and it's no slouch. It's about 60 horses. It's currently tuned, and this kid hasn't ridden a motorcycle in about a year, which ain't bad. And right now we're going to just pull over and observe the rule of waiting for the guy behind you, and then we'll keep going here. So the bike this kid's on is a 2006 Husqvarna TC 450, which is actually the bike I've been riding for years. And I put it up last year when I bought Taz here, who's such a good boy. And we've become pretty good buddies together over the last, 9-10 months, I guess it's been. And he's just gonna take off. All right. So we built the bike. I took it down to the frame, Got the suspension redone. Put new plastics on it. Kind of went through everything under the auspices that I was going to sell it to him. But when it came down to it, here's the thing. At 17 years old, after winning I don't know how many championships as a young man, and I don't know how many races, countless races, he decided to retire from racing and join the U.S. Army. And he did his time. 2 weeks ago yesterday, he was honorably discharged. So, we gave him the bike. Me and my wife put a lot of hours into it. And I didn't tell her actually until about 2 days ago that I didn't plan on selling it to him. And I was just gonna give it to him. And it was his welcome home, thank you for your service present, I would say. And it's a good one, yeah?
Great.
That's awesome. There's the missus, all right.
Go straight or right, bud?
That way. And I know I could talk about, you know, what this kid's done and his resume, if you will, over his life, which is impressive. He's also extremely intelligent. So pretty much anywhere he goes, he's one of the smartest guys in the room, and it pisses me off. But he's such a good kid, and he's turned into a really good grown man. As we filmed today, he's 21. He's been a free man for a couple weeks, and it looks like he's living life right now. So I figured, why not make a whole day about him? Welcome home, buddy. But back to my point, what's impressive about this guy is not what he's accomplished and how he's accomplished it. It's more the point of the attitude he's had through the whole thing and what he's endured to get there, which I think is it's pretty rare, guys. I haven't seen it a whole lot in many human beings. Not that young anyway. You figure, you know, generally people don't mature into situationally aware, respectful, helpful, genuinely, you know, nice adults until they're, sometimes late 20s, early 30s. When this kid was 14 or 15, you were more than able to have an adult conversation with him. And he was right on anything. There was not much outsmarting this kid. But he took a lot, you know. He trained hard, he worked hard. He's one of those kids that, as far as being in schoolwork and good grades and things like that are just one of those things that came naturally to him, where, you know, most of us normies, quote unquote, had to work pretty hard at it just to, you know, maintain a decent average. But not John. He seemed to figure things out in that realm very easily. What he did work very, very hard at is motorcycle racing in general, and he had a lot of natural skill to start with. Catch my breath a little bit here. So, having given you somewhat of a semi-ADD confusing introduction to Mr. Gessner here, let's start from chapter 1. I met John and his dad in 2011 at Pacific Raceways in Canton, Washington. We were there for a race when I was racing for Big V Superbike Suzuki, and I saw this older fella, no offense Troy, running back and forth between pit wall against the racetrack in the pits. quite exhaustingly as it appeared. So as I'm observing this guy, realizing, well, that's the kid's dad, because I'd seen him once or twice before. And we had a, see, I can't even keep up with the kid already. We had a little Yamaha PW80 small wheeled pit bike. But we also had a golf cart that we'd painted up, kind of looked like the bike had our number on it. It was actually kind of cool. But I'm watching this poor guy, and I kind of recognized what he was doing as far as like, all right, he's playing dad and crew chief, but he's also playing gopher in between races, holding up pit boards. Something's up with the bike. He's going running back to get tools. And the poor guy just looked, I don't know, not exhausted, because I don't know a Troy Gessner to get exhausted. If it's happened, I've never seen it. The guy's a bit of an animal, which would be this kid's dad. But it was one of those things. Racing is real big on camaraderie. Not something that has to be forced by any means, I assure you. It comes plainly and naturally. I remember when I went in for my novice classroom session, the year I started racing full-time, and Alistair McKinnon was the president of WIMRA at the time, and he said, first things first, look at the guy around you, look at the guy to the left, look at the guy to the right. He said, more than not, the people that are sitting next to you are going to be good friends of yours for the rest of your life. I didn't take it to heart at the time. I was, 19. But I'll be damned if I never forgot it. And he was right. Because sitting to the right of me were two lovely human beings named Cliff and Will Beebe. To this day, I'm still very good friends with the both of them. Although I have not seen them in a while, and I kind of miss them. Cliff and his wife's recently retired and moved to Montana, living the good life, so he's not racing anymore. To the right of me was, I believe, Eric May and Bob May, also a father-son race team. They're just guys that you get into this program with. Yeah, they're your competitors on the racetrack, but they're your family in the pits. And it was that very moment when I saw John's dad sprinting back and forth at least a couple hundred yards between their pit and the pit wall to do this or to do that or to get this or to get that. That kind of clicked into my head. And I talked to my crew chief and I said, hey man, do you see this guy? Why don't we give him our pit bike? So we went up, introduced ourselves. Well, lo and behold, we lived in Whatcom County, about 10 minutes away from each other. How lucky is that? So, met up that next week, gave the poor guys the pit bike. We started utilizing our golf cart. But the big secret was me and the team. We had a training facility on dirt track, kind of tucked in behind the shop we raced out of, which we aptly nicknamed the secret facility. So we let these boys in on it, and we started training together. And we were teammates ever since. We traveled together, we raced together, we pitted together. It was nice because we didn't race in the same class, so we didn't have to, worry about competing or taking each other out. And we could help each other because, our races were staggered at different times, and there wasn't a rush to get both bikes ready. We always had this little bit of buffer time to kind of get it figured out. And that seemed to work out. So every day after school, for the most part, I would get the kid, as he was, 12 or 13, and to the secret facility we would head, and we would train around that track until there wasn't enough light. And here I had this illusion of grandeur, thinking I was gonna show this kid a thing or two and maybe be a mentor to him. The truth is, he was a mentor to me. And if it weren't for this kid in front of me, you guys, I would never have been the racer I was. I would have never had won the races I did. And I would have never, ever have won a championship. It takes a village, I promise you. But I had the advantage of this special guy up here. And that was worth the world. And it always will be. So again, one of those guys that'll I'll be real close to for the rest of my life. You bet your ass. There's certain people in this world that you just need to look after, stay close to. Try to get him to slow down here for a minute. And he's one of them. And oh man, you guys, for the last 6 months, this poor guy's been waiting to get out of the military. And all he could think about is riding. That's all he could talk about. And he did not see that motorcycle for the first time until yesterday. And it was really cool to watch. Give you one of those attaboy feelings, you know? You like your bike up there, bud?
Hell yeah.
You look like you're getting after it okay. I'm kind of having trouble keeping up, I'll be honest.
Getting that forearm pump, man.
All right, little 2-minute breather there. On our way. So back to our original story. You know, I was always a pretty good racer, but I was very, very average. I had a list of 4th place finishes that would make your head spin. In 2010 or 2011, I raced in 4 championships subsequently. And at the end of the season, I placed 4th overall at the end of every single championship. 2012, I podiumed each championship. All because I had to train with this guy and keep up with him, which was very tiring, very arduous. I'll tell you, at the time I was, 26, 27. This kid's 14, and I have to keep up with his energy level for hours around a dirt track. Sometimes I just wanted to die, but I figured out if I could get in front of him a little bit, he'd kind of wear himself out a little bit more trying to keep up or pass me. So that seemed to lessen our training time, which was good because, man, he just didn't know quit. He still doesn't. He doesn't have it in him. Even when he's sleeping, I swear to God, he's thinking about whatever he's going to do as soon as he gets up. But it's really neat to see, you know, a kid like that at that age racing at that level. And it's something you just don't see a whole lot. So fast forward to 2013, we kind of ramped up our training at the secret facility. Sometimes we were doing 2 days, go early in the day, go to work, or whatever we had to do, come back that evening and do some more. So in 2012, Johnny won the 125 GP championship and was 2nd overall out of the entire organization. And in 2013, I competed in 25 races. I podiumed 21 and I won 13. Earned myself a Superbike championship, which is what I set out to do. And at that point, I had felt accomplished and hung it up. So the year after I retired, he jumped up to 600cc Super Sport, and he took himself to California and started racing with the real fast guys. And we were like, oh man, is he ready for that? What's he gonna do? His dad works for an oil company, and a few weeks before the race, they sent him overseas for a couple months, and I couldn't get out of work to go with him to California, but the race was on, it was happening, there was no shutting it down. Everything was already set in stone and the ball was rolling. So his stepmom went with him, just him and her, and they hired a crew chief down there. And we were all wondering what was gonna happen to the poor kid. He was just about to turn 15 and he was about to take stake in a 600 race with the top 30 riders in the United States. And we didn't know what to do. I couldn't stop stressing out about it because I was back home in Washington, you know, waiting for word to hear what was gonna happen. And those guys down there, they race nasty, man. There's no prisoners taken. There's big money out there for it. It's on the line. And bump to pass is a thing in that class of racing. That evening, I got a phone call. He won the goddamn race. I went to my knees. I don't know if I've ever told anybody this. Oh, and I cried like a little girl. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what do you mean he won? And someone said, no, he won. He won the whole damn thing. And I'm like, what are you? That can't be right. And I remember she told me that the track announcer said at the end of the race to the whole stadium, said, I don't know who John Gessner is, but I can tell you he's my favorite rider. That was a cool thing to hear. The kid had finally got there. And that's, you know, it's rare to see it happen that naturally. And I say naturally with a grain of salt because it wasn't like there was an extreme amount of effort that went into his entire career, guys. Make no mistake about it. This kid worked very, very hard for everything he ever got. And he did not have a whole lot handed to him. And it looks like he stalled her out. All right, had to take a little breather there. Mr. John to kind of find a screw. I think he flamed out up that hill. Those big 4x4 trucks that are old carbureted, they tend to, you know, if you pull the throttle too quick and they want to dump more fuel in, then they have time for air to get through. And that can be kind of annoying, especially when you're climbing a loose-ass rocky hill like this. You gotta kind of traverse it almost. Sure my wife can get up this alright. She seems to be doing just fine. So back to Mr. Gessner here. What else can I say about him? It wouldn't take probably a lot more time than we have here today. The significance on my life and the impact on my life this kid has had is second only to my wife. As far as, you know, kind of what he's done for me along my path. As for a while there, we were on the same path, going towards the same goal. And as I was saying, after he went to California and won those few races, which he did win more after the first one, I might add. Oh shit. You're good, bud. Oh yeah. Oh, you're good. Okay, after a brief intermission, we're gonna get it on. Or back on, or if you prefer, we're just gonna ride down the mountain. My wife always prefers to be in the back. I really like her in front so I can keep an eye on her, you know, in case something happens, yada yada. Oh Jesus. But she doesn't like to hold anybody up. She feels bad, or she gets nervous, or self-conscious, what have you. The thing is, she's a really good rider. I wish she gave herself more credit. be perfectly honest with you, I can't remember where I left off before we hit the snow. But I kind of want to continue on with John's story, because that was really the main purpose that we're out here for, other than, you know, giving him that lovely bike he's riding for his welcome home present, as well as a big thank you for your service, buddy. Hell of a thing you did, and one hell of a man you become. You've never ceased to impress me, man, not for a minute, and I'm sure you will continue to do so for a long time. And I have a feeling this kid's gonna end up being much better than me at this sport. Ugh, which I hate. She's so damn good at riding motorcycles. Making us all look bad, John. So after his string of wins in California, he decided to hang it up. I'm gonna be a normal kid for a little bit. By this time he was 16, so, you know, we still hung out and did our thing. We just weren't racing no more, and went up in the woods of Whatcom County to Sumas Mountain and rode dirt bikes a little bit. I had a spare one, so I was riding that one back in the day. But we just, you know, went out and tooled around, had some fun, and the kid loved it. And then I get a text from him one day when he was 17. He said, "Bro, I just signed up to join the Army." And I went, oh shit, what's he gonna do? You know, so my mind obviously goes to the big brother type of thing. It's like, oh shit, is he gonna be infantry, gunner? What are they gonna have him do? And to my delight, he's gonna be a corpsman medic. And he always kind of had a knack, you know, sports health science, things of that nature, and really intelligent about it. Not necessarily had any formal education on it, but man, the kid's got a lot of knowledge about the subject even before he went in the military. And a few months later, we waved goodbye. He was off. Went through basic training, ended up getting stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord, which was great. So he was still in the state. We got to see him every once in a while, and he would come over, and whatever spare dirt bike we had, every once in a while he'd come riding with us. So he's somewhat kept in practice. But shoot, the last time he rode up until today was, gosh, June, July last year, and we're at the end of May as we film today. So he's getting right back in the swing of it, because it doesn't matter how long you've been riding single track and this particular discipline of racing and riding, but you take that much time off, these trails all of a sudden become very intimidating for at least the first, I don't know, half a day. Unless your name's John Gessner, then it don't freaking matter. As you can clearly see, he doesn't seem to be having any issues whatsoever. My first day back out here about 3 weeks ago, I came by myself. I'm ashamed to even put the footage on YouTube. It's pretty bad. Kind of takes away to, oh yeah, I remember how to do this. Oh, I remember how to lean that way. Damn kids and their skills. Oh, Jesus. So, lo and behold, kid went around the world, got to see some cool places, got to learn a lot of cool things. And the entire time he's been in the military, he's also been continuing his college education at the same time, while also playing the stock market. Make sure he's set up decently when he got out. And I'll tell you what, he did just that. I want to make sure I still got my microphone on. Which I do. Ah, there we go. Having trouble figuring out how to attach this thing where it's not going to slide off. We're still kind of figuring out all the logistics and ergonomics of this whole thing. We are in the very early stages of it. Now we gotta catch the kid. Oh, story of my life, chasing after John Gessner. Can't win. Oh, there we go. So, after he did his tour, did his 4 years, He is now 21. Grown-ass man, ready to get off to make a life for himself. And what's the first thing he does? He comes on over here to ride some dirt bikes. Attaboy. Loving every minute of it. There's always been a big hubbub about the difference in racers and motorcycle riders. My crew chief burned this into my skull for a long time. Said there's a big difference between just riding a motorcycle and simply operating it. Most guys that ride on the street or just tool around here and there, they just kind of operate a motorcycle. A racer figures out how to actually ride it. And there is a very big, oh Jesus, almost lost it there. Anyway, there is a very big difference between the two. Like what just happened right there, for example. Normal situation, if I didn't know any better, I would have panicked, just let go of the bars, let the bike go into the tree. That's what I keep talking about, is how playing your front tire where it's gonna go. But because I knew how much weight was gonna be put down on my foot in that split second. It's not that I'm overly intelligent, folks, it's just I've been doing this for 3 decades. You end up learning stuff and figuring it out, but you know, you just kind of plop the foot down right there and make sure you don't eat shit. But I've done that before, don't get me wrong, where it turned out to be a very, very different outcome, to say the least. I've never been much of a crasher in that regard. As Colin Edwards once said, I don't want to crash because it hurts, so I'm just not going to do it.
Infinitely easier going down.
Oh, without a doubt.
So much fun.
Yeah.
You could just put the bike exactly where like it's going to be.
Yeah.
That's such a cool feeling.
Agreed.
God, yeah. It's so weird. I don't know how to describe it.
It's just fun, bud.
Mm-hmm.
We're on dirt bikes.
Hell yeah.
How you feeling so far?
Amazing. I think it's all starting to click.
Attaboy.
Going up the first hill, you know. Oh, good to go?
Yeah.
Go one step.
I'm having trouble remembering what the hell I was just talking about.
I don't know.
I'm working on it. Quick sip.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Alright, goggles keep fogging.
Yeah.
You guys ready?
Let's go. I'm gonna give you my old ones.
I'm sorry?
My old 100%ers.
I mean, these are fine. It's just, you know, get a little foggy.
Yeah. They don't fog up. So, my point to the whole operating a motorcycle versus riding it is John was not taught at a very young age to operate a motorcycle. He was shown what levers do and all that, but he was taught from day one how to properly ride one, as his dad was essentially grooming him for racing. And what a grooming it was. So he's always had a little bit of natural ability, but again, when you ride a motorized two-wheel vehicle at that young of an age, at 3, it's gonna have some permanent lasting effects, and that has worked out very, very well. Most kids I witnessed that started out riding at a very young age like that, it turned out to be fairly proficient motorcycle riders. Myself included, I suppose. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was nowhere near the best of anything, but starting at 4 years old definitely didn't hurt. But I never gave up, and I trained very hard to get where I went in the time that I did, as did the young man in front of me. Another reason I kind of wanted to make this episode about John, other than the fact that he was an amazing motorcycle racer, and the hell of it is, he's still young enough You know, the kid's 21. If he wanted to get back into Superbike, 2 phone calls in a few weeks' time, he's got himself a ride, I guarantee it. John Gessner is not a strange name to many. Goes along with the Cameron Bouviers and the Andy DeBrinos of the world, the JD Beaches. John Gessner's name, I'd say, ranks fairly equal with those fellas. But they're all good guys, and I have not seen them in a long time. So you boys, I hope you're doing well out there. But more to the point of Mr. Gessner here, I keep referring to him as the kid every time I tell the wife, Johnny's coming. I say, oh, the kid's coming. I keep forgetting he's not anymore. And it's hard to say because his mentality hasn't changed much. He hasn't lost that brightness in his eyes, that spark. He just had a naturally, I don't even know how to put it, a naturally higher level of intelligence and maturity at a young age. So he didn't really have to change. And that's neat to see. The John Gessner you got 6 years ago when he was in high school is the same John Gessner you get right now. And you will never meet a kinder-hearted human being. The kid who gave you the shirt off his back in a snowstorm and wants nothing for people but for them to be happy, which is nice to see a young man do in that regard. But I think we're going to take an intermission, folks, and take the road back. We're going to find a new trail. We'll pick up there. So we'll talk to you in a little bit. So as we're riding along here, one of the memories that comes to mind of this kid is the last round of racing the 2012 season. Both of us were going after championships. I'd had a bit of a rough start to that season. We crashed out in the first race of the first weekend and pretty much demolished our race bike. And we had 3 weeks to build a whole nother one. And it took a bit. So we were trying to save what we could as far as maybe 3rd or 4th in championship, but we had to have a hell of a weekend, so we were all tied up with that. And meanwhile, this kid was trying to become the youngest kid in history to ever win a championship of any kind at that level. How you doing, folks? We got one more. At any rate, so we come down to September 23rd of 2012, morning practice session before the last race of the year, so that this kid could potentially make history. And we went out in the practice session together. I took off a little bit behind him, but what happened is he got a little overzealous. It was a little, it wasn't full on rain, but the track was definitely not 100% dry that morning. And in the second corner, he went in and piled himself up. Boy, there's a lot of people here today. We'll just kind of take her easy through here. We don't want to disturb nobody. Hi, everybody. Howdy. Thank you. Ah, lovely people. I think everybody's just happy to get out and not be cooped up at home. This is, you know, May 2020, and we're in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown, and I think people are just getting plain old sick and tired of hanging at home, and I don't blame them. Not a single bit. And who can? It's a fairly decent weekend, and why not get the family and go camping? But at any rate, back to September of 2012, John done piled himself up first practice session of the morning in turn 2, I might add. I can't remember what quite happened with the bike, but he went off the outside of the corner at a pretty good clip, I'd say between 100 and 110 miles an hour, and into an air wall. Long story short, he broke his hand, and we had to find a damn glove that was big enough to put back on his swollen hand. It had swelled up quite a bit. I would say it was a good 60% larger than it normally is. And in true John Gessner fashion, he went out for that race after the shock had worn off of the whole thing. And he won. And that was the year he won the 125 championship and took second overall ahead of 20-year veterans, I might add. And he did it with a swollen hand and set the lap record, just as a little bit of a cherry on top. So this was all documented just for your information. If you're ever curious, I'll try and put a link in the video, in a documentary called Big V 2012, Story of a Season. A gentleman named Chris Patton filmed it. It was an excellent private filmmaker, and he just happened to follow us around with cameras that season, and he caught the whole thing the entire weekend. It was fairly drama filled for that regard. There was a lot going on, but it was an amazing thing to see, and I'm damn sure I will never see it again happen. That's, again, one of those once in a lifetime type of things you witness, and John himself is one of those once in a lifetime people that you better damn well appreciate, because you're not going to get a whole lot of them, folks. It goes back to what I previously talked about as far as paying it forward and being a good person, and part of me building that bike was a way to do that, but it was also kind of a pay it back thing for everything the kid did for me in my career, even if he's aware that he did it or not. It was very, very important to me, and it still is to this day. Something I'll never really let go of, I don't think. And I'm just happy to be back out here with the kid riding, doing what we did. And I'll be honest, as I'm riding here thinking about all this and talking about it, kind of taking a stroll down memory lane, if you will, brings a little bit of a tear in my eye in that regard, because we had such a good thing going in racing that it was almost a shame to retire, but at the same time, you know, it led us to where we are today. And I'm here to tell the world I am a very, very happy man to be where I am today, to have the people in my life that I do, my wife, my family, and this young man included. So with regards to that, I say, good on you. Good on you, kid. Everything you've done so far has taken you down a good path. If I could give you one piece of advice, keep doing what you're doing and be you. That's where you're going to win. But the part that brings, you know, I don't know. Maybe some days I miss racing, some days I don't. I think I miss our team. We had a really good team, from our pit crew to our crew chiefs, in the form of mine being Carl Varanges, who probably gave me the best years of my life and showed me what it really meant to be a racer, what to do, what not to do. And having a good friend in his crew chief and father, John Gessner, who is one of the most interesting people you'll ever meet, to say the very, very least. Also extremely intelligent, so it's no surprise John turned out the way he did. And I'll tell you that man Troy loves his kids very, very much. No doubt about it. It's ever apparent in his personality and the things he does. You'll notice as we're filming this and kind of going along here that there's a lot of skips in the filming and edits and cuts and whatnot. The reason for that, we stop a lot for a couple of reasons. One, if anybody just needs a quick drink, and two, is to make sure everybody catches up at trail intersections, as I've spoken about before, because that's very important not to lose anybody. I'm constantly looking behind me to make sure Destiny is behind, or checking out where she's at, and kind of stopping along, and just to see if she shows up in 10 or 15 seconds. If she doesn't, something might be up, but that's just the reason for that. Don't need to bore you with the little things of just doing nothing. That's not why we're out here. We're out here to ride, enjoy this beautiful forest, and film what I hope to be somewhat of an entertaining video for the people out there to watch, even if you're not interested in motorcycles. Yes, sir. See, he's a smart kid. Every intersection he stops. Most people don't remember that. Hell, grown men, they just keep going. For the wife here. Off we go. And I know I keep talking him up about his skills in motorcycle riding, and we're just kind of, you know, really just bumming along here, not doing anything spectacular. Make no mistake about it, guys. This kid is one of the best people to ever operate a motorcycle and has one of the highest skill levels I've ever seen. And I'm sure I'm repeating myself, but there's a point to that. And the point I'm trying to make for this is I actually had to tell him take quite a bit off for today's purpose. If I cut this kid loose, we'd never see him, nor would we catch him. And it is one thing to catch a John Gessner. It is a very different thing to try and pass him. You might as well go do something else. The only way to pass John Gessner is to start in front of him to begin with. Then, with any luck, you might survive more than a lap. Well, folks, I must say, I think that completes most of the topic of discussion for today, because there's really only one topic, and that's the Prodigy himself. So, hope you enjoyed today's video, and please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. We're still in the early stages of this, trying to get it off the ground, and I don't really have any illusions of grandeur as far as where it's going to go, but I am curious to see just how far we can take it. And with your help, we can keep her going. Other than that, as always, take care of yourselves out there, everybody, and for what it's worth, damn it, take care of each other, and we'll see you real soon. For the remainder, enjoy the ride. Take care of yourselves.